Welcome, everyone, to the Lancaster Criminal Justice Meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Brown.
Present.
Harris. Absent. Herr.
Present.
McCracken.
Present.
Paris. Absent. Vice Chair Little.
Present.
Chairman Mercy. Absent. We have a quorum.
Good. Would you like all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Good morning. Please place your hand over your heart and repeat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry for getting this thing late, a little late start, so bear with us here. Any presentations, consent calendar? Nothing, okay. Consent calendars, everyone had a chance to review? Do I hear a motion or
Motion to approve.
do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote.
We are not set up, so all in favor?
All in favor? Aye. All. Let's get right into the Sheriff Department reports.
Perfect, I'm live here. Good morning, Commission.
Good morning.
Hope all is well. Deputy Kit Groupie, Lancaster Sheriff Station, Community Engagement, and I am here to present your City of Lancaster August 2024 crime statistics. So we're going to start out here. I'm going to move this forward. Perfect. So I'm going to go over to 2024 for year-to-date reported with criminal homicides in the city of a total of 16, unincorporated 2, for a total of 18. So I'm going to go all the way over to the 1-year change in year-to-date, 2024 to 2023, which is a decrease at 21.74%. I'm going to go down to forcible rape. 2024 year-to-date reported 39 in the city with 12 in the unincorporated area for a total of 51, which the year-to-year change year-to-date 2024 to 2023 is 2.23%. We had 179 robberies in the city with 23 in the unincorporated area for a total of 202. And the change in the year is down at 13.56%. Aggravated assaults within the city limits is 659, with 73 in the unincorporated area for a total of 732, which is an increase at 2.23% for the year. We have 443 reported burglaries in the city, 82 in the unincorporated area, for a total of 525, which is a decrease of 4.02%. Larceny theft is at 771 within the city limits, and 119 in the unincorporated area for 890, which is an increase of 1.14%. Grand theft auto, there's a huge increase with grand theft auto at 827 in the city, 260 in the unincorporated area for a total of 1,087. And that is an increase at 18.28%. I know we talked about it at the last Criminal Justice Commission meeting. We have a campaign for auto theft steering wheel locks and educating the public via social media on how to prevent auto theft. We'll go down to arsons at 25 within the city limits, 21 in the unincorporated area for a total of 46, which is actually a 35.29% increase. For a total of Part 1 crimes in the city, it's 2,959. Year to date, 592 in the unincorporated area, for a total of 3,551 within Lancaster Station Reporting District, with an increase of 4.29%. going to go over to arrests made. And for August, we were at 370, which is an increase by 10 arrests from last year at 360. Here's your City of Lancaster Part 1 crime hotspot areas. The orange being the most dense. And then the next screen is going to be the calls for service, calls only hotspot areas, which are very consistent with where these crimes are occurring. If you go back, I'll go back, and if you're looking at the map, it's pretty much spot on when it comes to where the crimes are occurring and where the calls for service are. And that concludes my crime statistic presentation today. Does anyone have any questions for me in regards to anything Sheriff's Department related?
I do, on your auto theft, what are the vehicles that are the hot picks?
Chevy Silverados have been an extremely, there's been a large amount of Chevy Silverados stolen, also your Hyundais and Kias.
And then,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no,
I'm sorry.
continue.
No, go.
Okay, no, I was just gonna ask on a different topic, under your burglaries here, that's obviously a combination of home and, commercial, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Okay,
burglaries total.
what are we finding is there one higher than the other, or they're just, about even?
You know what? The way this is broken down, I don't have an answer for you. However, I'll notate that and I can get you an answer for the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. And then you had something?
I was just going to say, what we discussed this morning is that we're seeing a decrease on a lot of things. How many officers are you down?
You know what? I don't have a specific number. I don't have a percentage on how many we're down. I know that we are down deputy sheriffs
Yeah.
at the station, and I think as a countywide, we're down.
Yeah.
It's a countywide issue as far as hiring and.
Chief, what do you think, sir?
I think, Paul and I were talking about this probably, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, and I think it was somewhere around 40
Yeah.
or so, yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number, but I think.
And I should have it too, Chief, because I know that
Yeah.
we talked about it. It's amazing the work and
Oh, yeah.
our sheriff's department's doing, our newer police commission is doing now, but yet, the overtime hours that you have to put in too is incredible, correct?
Right, yeah, no, deputies are working overtime to make up for that shortage.
Yeah.
I know that it was discussed earlier, 80,000 calls for service plus 30,000 observations, I think.
And the response time is for you to respond is coming down now.
The response times are
Which is incredible
decreasing.
to us, to understand that, people automatically think that, God, it's taken so long. The response time being down officers, and what's taking place, see some of these numbers coming down. Incredible job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the deputies are definitely working extremely hard, and not to countywide, deputies work hard in general, but I think specifically to the Antelope Valley, you have a large quantity of deputies who still live here, have grown up here, and there's that sense of pride in the community.
And having a council, a city council that is pro law enforcement.
Absolutely.
And, so, I mean, it's just that it amazes me every time that we have our sheriff board meetings and things like that, and we listen, and the work that you guys do, law enforcement, district attorney, unbelievable. I mean, we couldn't be happier on what you do, and then the overtime times that you put in, and Chief, going through your department now is just amazing of what you guys are doing, so I can't thank you enough,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
All right.
thanks, kid.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Question?
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm
Jen.
sorry.
My apologies. Yes, sir.
We just covered over Jen, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry,
I just-
Jen.
I just want to have a simple question and regards to Part 1 climb hotspot area. I noticed that there is a brand new area pops up between Avenue L and Avenue M, right by 10th Street. Is that where DMV is?
It is where the 10th West and L covers that area. And I'm actually involved with Rochelle, the city of Lancaster, the police department, with doing all the business watch and neighborhood watches. And we just, last 2 weeks ago, I think we had a business watch, which is held at Bravery Brewery with all the business owners within that specific business watch area, which covers 10th West and L, 8th West, westbound to 10th West, and then all the way up to, from Avenue L to almost M there. It covers that industrial area. And the DMV is there. I know we invited Officer Church. He was present at the meeting 2 months ago, and we did go over crimes involving the California Department of Motor Vehicles, and it is handled by the California Highway Patrol because it is a state entity. However, we don't get those calls for service and say, hey, we're not going to handle it. You're going to have to wait for the Highway Patrol. We work a lot hand in hand with the California Highway Patrol at those state entities. Yes, there is some crime. I think it would be best for the Highway Patrol to cover that, but in talking to Officer Church, who is the PIO for the Antelope Valley area office for the California Highway Patrol, a lot of times people will come in to register vehicles and not realize the car has been reported stolen. There's several things that occur, disturbance, business disturbance, unhappy customers, stuff like that. I can't attribute that. I know that in the area of the business watch, it's not a huge amount of Part 1 crimes occurring. So, which covers that area of 10th Street West and L. So I can't specifically tell you. I can research that, but, and I don't want to necessarily put it all on the DMV, but there is a significant, there are things that occur in or around there at the DMV that could make that happen. Part 1 crimes, though, I don't think, usually it's more minor crimes that are occurring when we're responding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then I just had one last thing too. I was kind of thinking about it, and I know CHP is going to be giving their report on the traffic violations and everything, but I also know that your station has their own traffic.
Yes.
I know you don't have the answers today, but maybe for next month, if we can maybe start seeing how many DUIs you guys are dealing with, how many, issues that you have, how many car accidents you are dealing with, so we can get more of a broader scope of what is actually going on with traffic-wise, because it is pretty bad out there, but I think we're really only just hearing CHP, and maybe if we can hear about what the station is doing.
Yeah, and the CHP handles the freeway and then the unincorporated
Yeah.
areas within the area we work. We do handle all traffic
Within the city.
collisions within the city limits. I will implement, so starting next month, we will implement adding the traffic portion, like you've requested, to our crime stat presentation.
Okay, and is that something that the police station's dealing with as well?
So we're actually bringing additional motor officers. We're going to have our own motor officers. We see that need. Paul and I have been talking about it because it's pretty bad out there.
Right.
And so we're gonna have an enforcement team out there as well,
Okay,
citing and slowing people down.
okay, good, perfect, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Highway Patrol, sir, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. So I'll do a comparison on stats for the third quarter of 2024 compared to 2023. Citations are up 30% at 3,240 compared to the quarter prior, 2,484. Speed violations went down 7% from 1,257 is the current year, prior year 1,356. So those went down, but the distracted driver went up 152%. 389 citations current year, prior year 154. Enforcement contacts total are up by 22% this year at 5,510. DUI arrests are up for the third quarter this year, 234 compared to 203 the prior year. And we were able to conduct 12 special enforcement operations during the third quarter of this year. We had not conducted any the prior year. So moving into the month of September, our operations were disrupted because of the wildfires. So they kind of faded out for the month of September after Labor Day. We plan on continuing on the speed enforcement and other violation, the primary cause factor violation enforcement in the future. Traffic collisions for the current year went down 5.8% from 493 to 464 this year. And for the third quarter, we had 12 fatalities within our jurisdiction. And there was one particular incident in the past couple of days. Around midnight, we put out a press release that occurred on SR 138 and SR 18, which is close to the county line with San Bernardino, where a large rock was thrown and went through a car's windshield, and unfortunately killed the driver. And we've kind of been monitoring and found more incidents before and after. So we're currently working on that investigation, trying to identify the suspect on that. So we have our major crimes unit from our division cooperating, helping us out with the homicide investigation. So we did put out a press release asking for any information on any other incidents that are known about or continue to happen, with hopes that we can get some leads as we continue to work on it. And I'll open it up to any questions.
When you gave your numbers for your distractions, what distractions are you finding drivers are having, like being on their cell phone, texting, or?
Cell phone. Cell phone, I don't have a number of which ones are using the cell phone or texting, but it's cell phone violations. Yes.
And then with the 138, I'm sorry if I misunderstood, but you guys are seeing an increased problems with rocks being thrown, or?
There was
I know the one that just happened recently.
We believe it's the same location.
Okay.
Mainly around midnight. So we believe it's one suspect. Yeah,
Okay.
all tied in together.
Okay.
And that's recently within the past week or so.
Okay. Thank you.
There
You're
is
welcome.
138 and where?
SR 18, which is close to the
SR
county line on the east end.
All right.
Remote,
Yes,
very remote.
yes. I believe they've found some encampments closer towards the aqueduct.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Chief? Oh, I'm sorry, District Attorney, I'm so sorry.
Good morning.
Take me away.
So this morning I have for you felony filing statistics. These involve the felony cases that have been presented to the DA's office from Lancaster cases or Lancaster arrest. For arsons, for August, we had no filings. September, there were 2, and we did not decline any cases, so we filed all of our cases for September. Auto thefts, there were 8 filings in August. September, there were 12, and we declined 8. Our yearly average was 5 filings per month for auto thefts. Burglaries, which includes both residential and commercial burglaries, August, there were 9 filings. September 6th, and we didn't decline any cases during that time period for September. Criminal threats, 5 filings. September 4, and there were 2 declines in September. Drug sales, 5 filings in August. September, we did not file any, we declined 2 in September. Domestic violence, and that, with the domestic violence, I'm looking at just 273.5 charges. That's what our system is looking for when we're talking about domestic violence, so the number may seem small. You might see domestic violence cases included in our greater number of felony assaults, or sometimes you'll see those numbers reflected in residential burglaries or vandalisms. We also file a lot of misdemeanor cases too, so these numbers may seem low. They appear low to me. August, there were 6, 2 in September. We declined quite a few, declined 13 domestic violence cases in September.
And what was the 273.5? What does that mean?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Penal Code Section 273.5 is the general domestic violence charge. It's corporal injury to a spouse, cohabitant, or a child's parent.
Okay.
And so that's just generally speaking the domestic violence charge that's most recognizable. Domestic violence cases we can file a lot of different charges, criminal threats, we can file vandalism, burglary, an attempted murder, robbery. Basically, any type of offense can be domestic violence related, but that DV or domestic violence designation that we're using here is just the Penal Code Section 273.5.
But because the numbers
category.
were high on that with declines, it means that they were probably
It's
gotten
that
somewhere else.
specific charge, the 273.5. We may have filed some other charge. There's a
Okay.
misdemeanor code section, it's Penal Code Section 243E, that involves domestic violence where there's no injury that was actually visible, or so that could be filed in lieu of or instead of the
Okay.
273.5 charge.
Okay, thank you.
Felony, felony evading and hit and run, we filed 5 in August, 3 September. There were no declines in September. Felony assault, ADW is assault with a deadly weapon, and GBI, that's here on the, I don't know if you have on the chart, it's assaults by means likely to produce great bodily injury. Those are assaults that don't involve a weapon, but they're the more serious assaults. There were 14 filings in August, 16 in September, and there were 8 declines. Some of the domestic violence charges that we're discussing earlier may be included in those because we often file those assault with deadly weapon charges in domestic violence cases instead of filing the 273.5 charge that we were discussing. Felony DUI, 5 filings in August, 5 in September. There were no declines in September. Grand theft and ID theft, 2 filings September. You see a huge jump in September, 20 filings, and there were 7 declines. Illegal firearms, 18 filed in August. Yeah, I need my glasses. 16 in September, 4 declines. Murder and attempted murder, there were 2 filings in August, 2 in September, 1 decline. In the area of robbery, 12 August, 14 September, 3 declines. Sex crimes, and this is both crimes committed against adults and children, 6 in August, 14 in September, and there were, looks like 3 declines. Felony vandalism, 4 in August, 6 in September, 2 declines in September. And then our violations of criminal protective orders, those are our restraining order violations, 13 filings in August, 13 in September, and we declined 4. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Yes.
There are a couple of statutes, and I apologize, I don't remember the numbers, from Sacramento that tended to lower the consequences for certain kinds of criminal behavior, and a lot of people felt that they increased I think in particular organized shoplifting. And I noticed that there's something on the ballot this fall to try and reverse some of the effect of those statutes. Am I making sense? Do
You
know
are.
what I'm talking about? And if that were to pass, how would it affect your department?
You know, honestly, I don't know that it would, if we're talking about thefts, I don't think that it would affect my department greatly because we still file theft offenses. You may see an increase in felony thefts, but we have always filed misdemeanor and felony thefts. So while the threshold for the amount of a theft was increased, we still filed petty thefts. So we may still see the same number of filings, you just may see more felony filings.
Do you think that the police are bringing you less petty theft crimes because they know the consequences aren't going to amount to much, and so they're not going to waste their time on it?
I have not seen that.
Okay. So you wouldn't expect a bump up suddenly in
I think that
certain crimes?
I think we might see a bump up in other areas because there are some offenses that we're not filing, but those are not theft-related offenses.
Thank you.
When it come to auto theft, there was 8 declines. What's the, why? There was filings and then declines. Is it just not enough evidence, not enough?
Yes, well,
What would be some of the reasons?
so first, let me just start with, we have a separate filing division, and they have a different head deputy. So I do not supervise our filing division, but I can just tell you that the district attorney's filing policy is to file cases that we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury. There has to be a reasonable likelihood of conviction. So when we decline to file a case, it's because there's a lack of sufficient evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury. So there may have been an arrest, but the evidence for whatever reason is insufficient. There could be, I'm trying to think of a good example. None's coming to mind, but
That's right.
there's just a lack of sufficient evidence to prove the case. The arrest, you have to have probable cause for an arrest, but for a conviction, you have to have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's just a higher standard. And so when we file our cases, we're looking at not the standard that a deputy or an officer uses to make that arrest. We're looking at that standard that's required of us in court.
It wouldn't have mattered if they had any priors.
Sometimes that we do take that into consideration because there are occasions where we can use prior offenses to show a pattern or an MO.
Right.
But we have to look at the rules of evidence to see in our particular case if we're likely to be able to use those priors. Sometimes it does show a pattern, but it's still just not quite enough for
Right.
us to present a case.
Any other questions? No? Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you. Chief?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's good to see you guys. It's been a while since I've been able to be here. We've had a lot going on. Wanted to take a minute and I'm gonna beat him up for wearing his hat later. But want to introduce you to Casey Perkinson. Casey is actually our first officer that we hired. He comes to us from El Segundo Police Department, where he was a SWAT officer. He worked special detail, special investigation, undercover operations, and kind of a high-impact enforcement team where they went out and sought out some of the worst that do things in that community. So we're excited about having him on the team. His partners are processing right now, and we're expecting to have them all sworn in and ready to work before the end of November. So feel free to speak with Casey or talk with him. He'll be around here while we finish this. So
He ran the simulator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably knew that I was the dead-eye shot on that criminal that you said I missed, and I had to go back to Nicole for gun training, you know, so, but no, I remember. Welcome aboard, Casey. Thank you. Thank you. Very,
I got to get some video of that.
oh, no, Nick has it. Nick has it.
All right, well, hey, it's good to be here with you guys. Just want to pass a few things on. You know what, I wanted to touch on really quickly what Commissioner Brown was talking about, so with the petty thefts and things like that. So we realize that that's an issue in our community, and one of the things our department is doing is we're working on moving some of the penal code and vehicle code sections into our municipal code. We're looking at that right now so that we can have some type of an effect on that and do it through our administrative site process, and bring some form of a repercussion to some of these lesser crimes as well that are, you know, plaguing us. So, and that's big because some of these big box stores are really taking it tough on that. So there's something that has to be done. So we're working on that right now. I'm happy to tell you that we had our station ribbon cutting on this past Saturday, and it was great. And for those of you who can make it, I appreciate it. Definitely want to encourage all of you to come by and see what we're doing and how we're doing it. I think you'll be absolutely impressed with the technologies that we brought in. I think you're going to love our Intelligence Crime Center, which we're sharing with all our partners in law enforcement. You know, they are getting a lot of attention, the ladies that work that, and they are being called upon by several different agencies, including Sheriff's Homicide, to assist in solving crimes. So when you do come, we'll give you a tour and show you how that works. I think you'll be impressed. And the simulator that Vice Chair Little talked about is an outstanding piece of equipment. It's a 33-foot long virtual simulator. It's LED, so it's really realistic, and we can control the character so that we can train officers on things to say to bring them down, and if they're saying the wrong thing, we can bring them up, and really get some good training there. So there's some tough scenarios, and I promise I'm going to put all of you through the toughest ones we got. So
Just don't show that film. Yeah. Hey.
Just passing on a few things. We are processing those additional officers now, as well as we're processing our first sergeant to be over that team, and we are processing our dispatchers. We just, in fact, had interviews yesterday. So, and it's exciting because I think there really is a group of folks up here who are highly experienced and work for great agencies that, besides wanting to shorten their drives, are looking for something different, and they're paying attention to how we're doing, what we're doing, and saying, yeah, I want to be a part of that. So we were amazed at the dispatchers. We've got some that are 9-year veterans for large agencies like LAPD and others that are saying, hey, yeah, I want to do it in the Valley. So we've got some really good folks that are coming to be a part of this. Also, this coming Saturday, we're going to have our Faith in Blue event, and that's in partnership with the Sheriff's Department. So Faith in Blue is it's a national event that's gone on since 2020, and what it's about is law enforcement and community bonding, and doing it through the power of the faith organizations, which I'm sure you're aware of. We have many in our valley. So on Saturday at 10 o'clock, we're going to meet at Living Faith Cathedral, which is Daryl Doris's church. We're going to meet there at 10 o'clock, and then we're going to have a peace march down to Jane Reynolds Park. And at the park, there'll be vendors and festivities and different things to take part of. So you're absolutely welcome to join us if you're available. But it's a great event, so we're excited about that. And there's many houses of faith that are going to come out and join us in that march. So we've been really proactively kind of dealing with the homeless issues in the city. And I'm happy to tell you, and this may have been mentioned in another meeting, that we're increasing our teams. We're actually hiring 2 more teams of our homeless community liaisons that go out and contact the homeless and take steps to move them from some of the areas where they cannot be. So we are processing 2 more teams now, and we're gonna have one of those teams working on weekends and one of those teams working at night now. And again, the approach is, let us help you, let us get you to services. But also it's, this is an area you can't be at. And if private business owners and homeowners or any facility comes in and says, hey, here's a letter of agency, we want folks out of here, we're gonna work with them on that as well, so. And we were talking about the smoke shops a little bit earlier. This is actually something that we've been paying attention to and started putting a plan together to address. We've noticed that some of these smoke shops are not only selling things like nitrous oxide, but they're also selling some of the little inhalers, and we're finding out that there's THC in those inhalers. And so we've also been made aware of the fact that there's some shops that may be selling candy that has THC in it. So we're actually preparing. We've got an enforcement plan put together, which we'll be working with our brothers and sisters from the Sheriff's Department as well. But we have something in place where we're going to deal with this issue. And last night's council meeting, the vice mayor brought it up as well as the mayor did. So it's a priority.
Yeah, just like, Rod, thank you so much, because you and I spoke last week, and incredibly insightful what he was telling me what was going on. And these are the canisters, these canisters are being sold to our youth, and this is what they're using. And they come in all sizes, all flavors. And I've seen firsthand the damage it's doing. And I think as a commission and as a city, whatever, and I'd like to be involved in whatever I can do to help. If there's a committee, we've all talked about being on a committee and helping things do this and that. This is something that just is wrong, and I commend you. It's right off the bat. It's just like the city council's taken a proactive spot, and you already knew the situations and taken place. And I can't thank you enough, Chief.
Well, I thank you for calling, because this is who we want to be, and we want to hear from community and anyone out there. These I don't know if I can use the word unique, maybe different. These different things that sometimes slip past law enforcement because, we're out dealing with all these other things, and we want to be that agency that hears about it and says, okay, we're going to deal with it.
It's ironic too, in the past, and I'm sure a lot of us will remember, is that when it came to certain storefronts, the city at one time, I remember, and I think it's still in place, you couldn't put too much things in the windows. And right now, you come to some of these places of business and you can't even see into them. And it's always been an issue with the city that says, no, you're restricted on hanging so many posters. And it made sense.
More than 25%.
Correct. And it made sense that, and I don't think that's changed. And I think in the past, now you go, and for law enforcement themselves, it's nice to drive by a public place and be able to look inside or driving through. And if it's completely sealed up.
I think they faded out because we're dealing with the COVID, during the dead time, and that they allowed to be, do some more advertising, and the window cover advertising, that they didn't do anything basically.
Yeah, so basically, it was a temporary fix or whatever it may be. I just look at some of these storefronts and I look at them, and I know the ones that we're referring to, it's a blight. It's a blight. It looks bad, and it just, it's got to change. I just think it has to change. you know?
Yeah,
And,
agreed, sir, and actually that we would expect those shop owners to realize that they're actually making it a lot more difficult for somebody to see inside the store
That's
if there
right.
is a problem.
That's right.
And so they should take that into consideration. So,
Thank you guys for bringing this up, because honestly, this is the first time I've ever, I didn't know anything about this, and I find this very unique. I mean, it's considered a food-grade nitrous oxide, which makes you think when you need some kind of special permit in order to be selling this in the first place. And just the way things are being presented to our kids, it's a juicy peach flavor. His is watermelon, yours is something else.
A
and
blue
it's-
raspberry, and Dr. Brown's got the bad one. I don't know what that is, but.
Can
yeah,
you,
that's-
can you fill us in a little bit more on, the use of it is obviously for people to get high on this, but I mean, what are they doing with it? Just inhaling it? Are they putting it in other items for people? Apparently, it was once used to flavor your whipped cream at some point or something, but
Yeah.
I've never.
yeah, they called them whippets back then when they would use them to flavor whipped cream. Micah and I were talking about years ago, when I was a lieutenant, I had to deal with this when I had a special team, and at that time there were several locations, and this was down in Lower LA County. We may have actually hit a couple up here where they were opened up shops, and they called themselves automotive shops, supply shops, but they were just selling nitrous oxide. And they would, the bigger tanks, they would decorate them, and there were just kids going in and buying them. And you would go to parties, and they'd be there selling it. You know, they just fill a balloon, and it was $10 a balloon, and they'd huff it and get high off of it. And it can be deadly, too, if you inhale too much of it. Not to mention, back then, this thing really came to light because of a Murrieta, I think he was forgive me, I want to say he was a councilman or something, and his son huffed it and got in and took off and ran into a tree, and him and I think his passenger died. So, it is a problem. And that's kind of scary that now they're getting them out of our our smoke shops. So it's something that we're going to jump on.
And Nick, exactly what you're saying is that it does state it here for whipped cream purposes, and that's, it can. And obviously, higher end places that have the whipped cream canisters, they put the CO2 cartridge in there, shake it up, and that they can, here you got the flavored stuff. That's quite a bit. And yet you talk to restaurant people, Jen, and other people in this community that says, no. Number one, it's too big, it's too this and that and everything else, you don't do it. And yet, why would a smoke shop be selling it?
Yeah, it's just
There's no reason that a smoke shop should be selling this product here.
But
Agreed.
I'm looking at the labels over here, and definitely as a manufacturer, they know what they're doing. They're trying to cover their back. It has all the warnings. They're trying to compliance with the state, the law. Even it says recycling,
Yeah, and if you read it too, it says, do not inhale.
Yeah, do not
Yes,
inhale. And it says it's a food grade, but I don't know. But it doesn't have any nutrition fact and that kind of things, the labels on it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it's food grade. I know when we dealt with it, actually it was 2013 is when we dealt with it. It just popped in my head. We partnered with Food and Drug Administration because they were able to go in, and at the time they had the really only books on the laws that were able to deal with it. So we partnered with them and hit these locations. So.
I just did a quick search on my phone, and I think there may be a penal code section, it might be penal code section 381.
That's it.
If that makes it a crime to knowingly sell or distribute nitrous oxide to someone who intends to use it, to inhale it or ingest it. So that might be a way to combat this at the smoke shops. And that was just a very, very quick search, so I'd have to look into it a little more, but that's something that you and I can talk about.
Well,
Absolutely.
it would, to that effect, if you have somebody coming in 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, and it's the same person, and this thing retails, I guess, for $30, and they're coming in and buying 2 or 3 or 4 or half a dozen canisters a day, I don't think they're doing that much whipped cream.
Right, and they're buying it from a smoke shop. so-
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it tells you one thing right there.
Yeah.
I think it's a moneymaker, and we all know why they're after it.
Exactly right, Nick. Yeah, you're
That's
right.
it. Some of these smoke shops unfortunately have turned into kind of almost like a swap meet location, because you can go in there and get that, you can get candy, you can get, I've heard some of them have like throwing knives and like, why has the smoke shop got weapons in there?
Yeah.
So it's something that we're getting ready to start dealing with, absolutely.
And I remember the day when they were doing it, was what, cigars and cigarettes, and at the time, the biggest thing that you had to worry about a smoke shop, whether the stamp was on the pack of cigarettes, and it was that was the biggest problem. Now look at what we got. I don't know, it's rubbing me the wrong way for some reason. I'm being
Agreed.
very vocal about it right now, and it's touched home, and I don't like it.
Yeah, agreed, sir.
You mentioned these THC inhalers. I thought THC had been decriminalized in California.
Well, if you're putting it in, forgive me, I'm forgetting what it is, these, what are those,
Asthma deal?
vape, thank you,
Vape, the
thank you,
vapes,
Kit.
yeah.
If you're putting inside the vape, you can't do that, that's illegal. So, it's something that we're researching now, we're probably gonna end up talking to Micah's office about it. But that's what we're finding, and actually, we're looking into one thing I love about this council is they're like, if it's gonna help the city, Rod, go get it. And that includes technology, so we're looking at a device that's gonna allow us to walk into smoke shops and test those. And just walk right in and test them, and if there's THC in there, there's repercussions that come with that, and we're told that that's happening now.
On a lighter note, your facility is incredible.
Oh, thanks.
No, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. The technology you have in there, state of the art, walking from room to room and seeing what you have as far as what you're doing for this city. Our city council and you have done a phenomenal job.
Appreciate that,
Yeah,
sir.
I mean, it's just amazing stuff.
Appreciate that. I'm sorry? 48311, I think it is. So basically, it is directly across, you got to learn your new address, like
I know.
when you move in a new house. And then I too, like Micah, left my glasses. But it's directly across the street on Sierra Highway from the MTA, from the train station. I mean, we are literally directly across the street, so.
George's Cleaners, catty corner, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Incredible facility. You got to go over there, Doc, and see it. It's amazing.
Absolutely, and you
Yeah.
all are welcome, everybody's
Yeah,
welcome.
it's just, you'll be absolutely amazed at the technology that the city has done and what Chief has done, and it's just, and his staff, and you can ask Casey what a marksman I am, because I was the top in the whole class, and then some. He's still talking about me, Yeah. So,
Appreciate that.
no, but it's an incredible facility. It's just amazing.
No, thank you, sir. Last thing I wanted to mention to you guys really fast is, so we've been meeting with the Boulevard Association, and we're coming up with a kind of an enforcement plan. And I almost don't like using that term because, I want folks to know our boulevard is absolutely extremely safe. And in fact, I'll tell you now, it is the most cameraed location in the entire city. We've got tons of cameras that feed right into my facility on that boulevard. And unfortunately, we do have issues like any other shopping area or area that's attractive will have. And I think a lot of that has to do with, getting our homeless issues under control. Some of it has to do with juveniles who've, chosen this, I think they call it wild and out or something like that, where they'll occasionally show up and just want to act, crazy. And so that's something that we're working on now and looking at ordinances and other things we can come up with to control that. But I want the community and the city to know it is absolutely one of the safest places that we have in our city. Something that bothers me, and I don't know if I should say that, but it does, is some of these social media outlets that are now putting out bad things about our boulevard. And it's just not true. But because we want to make sure that folks feel safe, and we want to make sure that we have a area in a community where folks can come and eat and relax and enjoy, we're working with the Sheriff's Department now to come up with kind of a high visibility plan is probably better to say it. And we're going to get that into play here. And we're working with the association to look at other things they might want to do. But it is absolutely one of the safest places in this city. And you got 2 police stations pretty much on that boulevard now. So for those folks who think it is unsafe, come out and take a look. So
Yeah, I agree.
that's all I got, unless you have any questions for me.
Any other? No?
Okay.
Thank you,
great.
Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congressman Garcia's office.
Well, good morning, everyone, and greetings from Congressman Mike Garcia's office. Before I give my report, I just want to say congratulations to Dr. Brown and the Antelope Valley Medical Center for a really impressive new addition to the emergency room. Please don't take it personal if I say, I hope you never see me in there. But I do want to say thank you for all the efforts from the whole team to be able to meet some of the medical needs of our community. So that was a really neat event.
Thank you for that. It's long overdue,
Yeah.
and I think it would take a lot of pressure off the crowd and patients currently.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my only request is if I do have to show up, could you just bring that buffet back? That was kind of cool. Did you see the shrimp? Okay, so on with my report. So the congressman is been very, very busy, and probably since we didn't get an opportunity to meet last month, one of the things that was brought to his attention early on was that the VA miscalculated their budget by about $3 billion. And they were going to have to cut off benefits to about 7 million veterans in the country starting October 1st. So the congressman, being on Appropriations Committee and working on both sides of the aisle, within a week was able to introduce a bill, get it through the House, get it through the Senate, and signed by the President the Friday before October 1st. That was quite the hat trick, and in turn, it just really provided a lot of assurance to our veterans that they're not going to miss out on their benefits, whether it be their VA medical benefits or their stipends or education benefits. The other piece of that legislation that I think is really important to note is that not only did it be able to supplement that shortfall of about $3 billion, it also held the VA accountable to find out why did this happen. Why was there this shortfall? What did they miss? So going into this next fiscal year, we can avoid this problem and all the stress that it created. So that was a big win for him. And then I don't know if you've been following the issue with Chiquita Canyon, but there's quite a big hullabaloo down there for the folks that live in that area with toxic waste and fumes and a lot of health issues. And so there's going to be a settlement for the residents, but that in turn impacts their income. And so the congressman introduced a bill that would provide tax relief for residents who ever receive income from the settlement for this event will not be impacted or taxed by that on the federal side. It also, in fact, people who maybe get county benefits, if it shows any increase or change in their income, they can also lose those benefits. So this bill that was introduced would be able to offset and hopefully prevent that from happening. Another bill that he was able to get passed through the House is called the ASIRO Act, H.R. 8958. And what that does is it was part of the NASA Reauthorization Act, and it uses the intelligence and the brilliance, actually, of NASA to be able to provide resources for our firefighters. As you know, we just put out the big bridge fire right behind us. And this technology would allow using drones and such to be able to get into the site of the fire much more quickly in hopes to know where to combat it, so before we lose thousands and thousands of acres in the fire. That bill was passed through the House. It was a bipartisan support, and it's on its way to the Senate. Another bill he presented, and it also passed the House, was the Medicare Medicaid Fraud Prevention Act. This is just another atrocity that's been happening. This bill would do just what it says, is be able to address the fraud, the folks that are stealing from Medicare, and be able to protect those funds and get them to the people that need them. So with that being said, that's a brief overview. He's been really busy from one end of the district to the other, and we're just very grateful to be part of his team. So unless you have any questions, that's it for me.
Any questions?
You know, I'm very happy about this Medicare fraud. This is a huge problem, and it's extremely expensive to the taxpayer. It makes it hard for people to get healthcare. Are there some pretty good teeth in this bill?
Well, again, I think what he's been able to do is bridge both sides of the aisle. So the fact that it had bipartisan support on both sides of the aisle in the House is very, very helpful. And as it goes over to the Senate side, I think there's just a lot of common sense in this. And regardless of where you sit, on what political side you sit, this is impacting your constituents. And I think those in Congress recognize that. So that's it. All right, guys. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
May I add something, if you guys have a quick second? You don't mind? Am I interrupting?
Not at all.
Perfect. Hey, I just wanted to give you an update. My crime analyst at the station is awesome. And I know Commissioner Herr had asked a question about the influx at 10th West and L, and if there was any correlation to the DMV. But the answer is no. The hot spot for the 10th West and Avenue L area was due to a burglary at Solar Motorsports, where 28 e-bikes were stolen. Every bike has its own separate vehicle identification number. So that being said, each separate report has to be taken. A CHP 180 for a stolen vehicle has to be taken. So it showed 28 incidents at one spot. In reality, it was one incident where 28 items were stolen. However, statistically, it shows that it's a high influx, but it was related to one burglary where the e-bikes were stolen.
Thanks, Kit.
No problem.
Senator Wilkes' office.
Sorry, I don't have an office number for Jeff. Just to confirm.
Sorry about that.
I thought you were calling me here,
No,
not.
Siri. Be quiet, Siri.
Good morning, everyone. Thomas Marino from the Office of State Senator Scott Wilk. As most of you know, Senator Wilk is retiring at the end of his term, which will be November 30th, will be his official last day as our senator. Our office will be closed by November 27th, and our election is coming up soon. So moving on to my actual report, we got two bills that were in our name that we wrote passed through the legislature this year. One of them was a bill relating to mortgage provisions and just cleaning up the provisions, just to clean up some of the loopholes and small stuff in that. The big bill we got passed this year was 1233, which was his high volume, high quality spay and neuter bill. That will create a certified program at UC Davis that will allow veterinarians to take on spaying and neutering at a high quality, high volume limit, which will be fantastic for the epidemic that we've seen within the stray animals community. Probably the biggest bill that he had his name attached to that was passed was SB 1414 by Senator Grove. This bill requires registration as a sex offender for any person who is convicted of soliciting or agreeing to engage in an act of prostitution with a minor under the age of 16 if they are 10 or more years older after January 1st, 2025. This increases the penalty for solicitation of a minor under 16 or if they're under 18 but a victim of human trafficking by an adult from misdemeanor, and a $10,000 fine to a wobbler, punishable as a misdemeanor by imprisonment in the county jail for not exceeding 1 year, and a fine of not exceed $10,000, or in the case of a felony for 16 months, 2 or 3 years, and or a fine of up to $10,000. Repeat offenses would always be considered to be charged as a felony. That was due to all of the media coverage that we had back in, I think, March or April when this bill was first introduced, and then it was tabled, and then the media got a hold that it was tabled, and what do you know, after the media figures out, they pass it. So that was probably the biggest accomplishment that the senators had this year, was being able to be a co-author of that bill, and being in the super minority to get a bill that does something great for our community is fantastic to see. So other than that, those are the two big updates I have, as well as Senator Sentence's thank you for all the help that you guys do for the community. And he's happy to be spending time with his grandbabies after being able to retire. So any questions?
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you guys.
Assemblyman Carrillo's office or Lackey's office? No? No representatives today? Katie? Any? No speaker cards whatsoever? Okay. Commissioner comments? Anything? This is easy. Then we'll adjourn until Wednesday, November 13th at 10 a.m. Thank you.